right, so Bridget, if it's okay, I will do the intro for this week. The Bengals get back on track against the Jets team that made quite the snack. Joe Burrow couldn't get no slack, so he did what he do best, that's attack. John Sheeran's here, and he brought his brain. But Hodgie like Schmunt is only here to campaign for the animals that come to him to complain. But like Fun and Williams, it all goes in vain. Yeah, we are back. Just like the Bengals, you're watching the number one Bengals podcast with your hosts, me, John, Hodgie, and HR Bridget.
Dang, that was a good rap.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's crazy how he doesn't tell us these things, and it just happens to be like, oh, like whatever happens, happens. But that was surprisingly uplifting. I'm actually kind of in a good mood right now.
That was the point, John.
Yeah.
We wanted to get John in a good mood. The Bengals wanted to get John in a good mood. That is what this show is all about. Now,
I mean, we all have to. Let's just say we'll get into all of the nitty gritty, but like you said, Dadio, we're back. Bengals with the W. Like, it just needs a cheer. Like, we knew we were going to get there. People were feeling down and out, but we got the first W of the season, and that felt good.
It did. It did feel good. And here's the thing, Bridget. If we would have won by a field goal at the last second, you know, as opposed to losing at the last second field goal, it wouldn't have felt this good. What felt good about this was that we went from struggling against bad teams to dominating bad teams, which is where we were last year. Because we have the big advantage in terms of talent. It was all a mental thing. It was a youth thing. And we were able to overcome that again early in the season, John. Do you remember last year, John, we were very inconsistent until what, around week 15, week 16. I feel like we had that wake-up call very early this year.
Perhaps. I just remember last year they started pretty slow in the first 2 weeks, and then they kind of beat up on a Pittsburgh Steelers team in the exact same time of the season. Then they beat the Jaguars on Thursday night. They got another Thursday night game this week. So these seasons are definitely paralleling each other a little bit. And I'm not entirely ready to say that this was like their complete get right. Everything's all, completely fine. But they definitely needed the win, and they needed to remember how to win and how to close these games and how to get off to a fast start, because it's been a long time since we've seen this team kind of do that. But yeah, it's a step in the right direction. I'm just not ready to say this is completely all, back to greatness, I guess.
No, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Bridget, please.
Well, I was going to say, John, Dadio, we definitely saw a faster start on offense, right? We scored a touchdown on our first drive where it felt like we hadn't scored a touchdown in the first half yet this season. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not on the first drive, but not even in the first half. So what did the two of you see in this offense that enabled that faster start? What looked different to you?
Well, to me, it was pretty obvious. It was that Joe Burrow, I mean, it sounds simple, but it's true. His confidence was back. The ball was coming out a little quicker. It was crisper. He was more decisive. Just his body language, his face, the way he was moving. You know that Samaje Perine touchdown? I saw the Joe Burrow from the Kansas City AFC Championship game, which, by the way, Samaje also got us going. But I saw Joe Burrow running around the pocket very decisively. It's almost like when he is on point, he uses the bad blocking to his advantage, right? He uses the chaos to create something beautiful. And that is exactly what I saw in that.
Burrow tries to get out of it, buys time, throws, touchdown!
It's just so unstoppable when you have someone who can do that. And I saw that early from Burrow, and also when he was throwing deep, he knew what he was doing. He knew where he wanted to go with the ball, and he just attacked.
Well, so you mentioned bad blocking as a strength or something that Burrow uses to his advantage. That play specifically, that first touchdown, to me, that was that pocket giving him just enough, and there wasn't any quick penetration. There wasn't basically any penetration from the Jets' defensive line. That was actually a clean pocket from Burrow, and he used that clean pocket to buy time for his receivers. So I think the difference was, instead of in the past couple of weeks where there's been instant penetration allowed specifically from the edges against both tackles, you now had a Jets defensive line that was getting some push but wasn't breaking through within the first 3 or 4 seconds. So if those plays didn't open up for Burrow in time, he had the space to keep his eyes down the field and then get out of the pocket, and it wasn't like so razzled and trying to evade pressure. Like, that was him buying time, escaping from a manageable pocket compared to the last couple of weeks where they have been completely unmanageable pockets.
Yeah, I agree, John. But I mean, did you see the stats, the pass rush win rate that Ben Baby posted? It is not like they were doing a lot better. It really feels like it's a Burrow thing. It really feels like it's a Burrow. I mean, the pass win rate was not as bad as it looked. Because
you're talking about the blocking or the Jets pass rush?
No, the Bengals pass block win rates.
Okay.
I can pull up the stat, but basically, I feel like this team goes as Joe Burrow goes, and Joe Burrow overcomes a lot of our deficiencies in, let's say, coaching and play calling. And when he can do that, the confidence seems to, pass on to the defense as well. And the defense, John, the defense played with a lot more confidence, I would say. Like, Awuzie was good this whole year, but he seemed to be more confident. Trey Hendrickson, right? He seemed to be a little bit surprised that the season has started too. But he was out there, he was confident. And who else? I mean, Von Bell. Did you see Von Bell, that big hit? I mean, he didn't necessarily make some huge plays, but you can tell that they all had their bite back.
Well, I think there's something that's got to be kind of comforting when your offense is rolling, to know that you're going to be able to get some time on the sideline to catch your breath, to process, to hear what Lou has to say. I mean, what was it, the Steelers game? I feel like there was one of the last 2 games before yesterday where our defense was just on the field so much because we were 3 and outs, or they were really quick drives. And I think there's some of that gravitas or confidence that Burrow brings, but there's also just offense is doing their thing, which allows defense to be able to do their thing. So I think there's a mix of personality, but also playing the role you got to play. Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. John, they had their opportunities early in this year with the Cowboys and with the Steelers, where the Steelers look terrible. And they blew those opportunities. It's not that big of a deal because this team, I really do feel this team can beat a contender like they did in Arrowhead or in Tennessee, when they're on, and they can lose to the worst teams when they're off because of their youth and their inexperience and all that. So I'm not so worried that we blew those games. But John, what I'm trying to say is, while this seemed like a statement game that you said, it wasn't a perfect game, even against the Jets, let alone better teams. And now they have to face the 3-0 Miami Dolphins. But, John, I guess I want to talk about the missed opportunities in this game and what you think is going on. So, yeah.
I don't think we learned a ton about this team in this game. I think everything that we know still applies. The Jets inexplicably came out in the first 20 minutes and decided to play the defense that they're comfortable with, which is just single high, cover 1, cover 3. And we know the Bengals can torch that. That's exactly what they did in the first two or three drives that ended up.
No tentativeness. Final seconds of the first quarter. Burrow on time. Tyler Boyd breaks away, and now it's a foot race. Boyd will take it.
Yes, thank you for cutting me off. The Jets, again, inexplicably blitzed Burrow on multiple third downs, and he burned them both times for touchdowns. The Jets did everything wrong schematically on defense to allow the Bengals to get the fast start that they wanted. Now, granted, that this is what the Bengals had in mind. They knew that the Jets are primarily a single high defense. They knew that those coverages are the coverages that the Bengals have most success with, and they, to their credit, they conducted a great opening game script. Like, Burrow was on fire in the first drive. He was targeting T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, a really great back shoulder throw to Higgins on third down. Definitely should have been a touchdown to Higgins in the red zone. And then we already showed the play where he extended and found Pirine. So it was a great opening script against a defense that they knew that they were going to have success. But then the Jets woke up and realized, hey, this team sucks against cover 2. So they just dropped back 2 safeties for the next 40 minutes. And the only time the Bengals found the end zone was when they were at the 25-yard line, thanks to a turnover that Trey Hendrickson provided. So offensively in the second half, they were the same offense that we've seen in the first couple of weeks because they faced a defense that went into too high coverages and just parked their safeties in the back. So they didn't really grow in that sense, and I'm still a little worried about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more worried about Joe Burrow. He had a great game, but they don't have any premier pass rushers, which seem to work to our advantage. But he still took a nasty hit. And this was really scary, John.
Yeah, they supposedly outlawed that. I suppose it didn't get thrown because they thought that Rankins was shoved or pushed into him, but it didn't look like that was the case upon replay. So I'm not really sure why that wasn't flagged, but that's definitely in the rules of being illegal.
Yeah.
Ty Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn, producer Mark Wolf, director Suzanne Smith, the rest of our crew.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to watch. But we also have...
so we showed it twice.
Yeah, different... when one was with the sound, one was without the sound. Because depending on the person, one is more traumatic than the other. And but he was also sacked one other...
Nickel package here for New York. Burrow is sacked!
And John, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm seeing is that the times he was sacked in this game, it was really like the pocket collapsed almost immediately. It's a little different from before when they were saying he was holding onto the ball too long. He was trying to make the big play. This time it seemed like the opportunity just wasn't there.
No, I agree. And even when the offense was struggling and he wasn't getting sacked, he was at least getting the ball out, and they were trying to find a way to get the ball out quicker. And unfortunately, they just couldn't push the ball down the field. I feel like his average depth of target in the second half alone was probably less than 6 yards. Like there was that one deep out to Tyler Boyd that was right after he took that hit. So you could tell that he just didn't have as much strength or as much power on that follow through just because he took that shot to the knee. And I thought that was a kind of a questionable decision for the offense to do that right after that play specifically. But it was a 3rd and long, so they had to do something. But yeah, the offense in the second half was definitely a little bit concerning. The Jets' strength in that defensive line is with their defensive tackles, so it didn't surprise me that the interior had maybe more of a rough game than we've seen in the past couple of weeks, whereas Jonah Williams and Lyle Collins, they played a little bit better than they did in the last couple of weeks. So, Cordell Volson kind of struggled. Ted Karras probably had his worst game as a Bengal so far, but that's where the strength of the Jets' defensive line was. And I feel like for the most part, they managed pretty well, which is why Burrow only got hit about a handful of times.
Yeah, well,
Has anyone looked to see where we... Oh, Hodgie.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hey, welcome. Thank you.
Has anyone looked to see where we are in terms of the number of penalties versus this season versus last season? Because it just feels like we're getting called... I mean, that was like our hallmark last year, right? We were the least penalized team in the league, just a very disciplined team. And I think with some of the newer guys and some of the holds, has anyone looked though where we are like after week 3 this year versus week 3 last year?
They've definitely been penalized more through the first 3 weeks compared to last year, but I don't think it's like as far as like the league leaders in penalties, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely an increase from last year.
Yeah. Well, John, I want to talk about, well, you mentioned the T. Higgins catch, and I just want to show that to people watching so they know how glorious and amazing this catch could have been. That was pretty amazing. But there's
sound
that
warning next time, maybe.
Yeah, and the T. Higgins 45-yard catch that he got hit on was beautiful as well. But I think it's just his lip, John. It's not a concussion this time, right?
Yeah, thankfully he got rocked.
Yeah,
that was Burrow's best deep ball of the year so far, though, and he almost hit the one to Chase down the sideline. I feel like Chase kind of lost it. Chase didn't have his best game. I think he had a really good matchup with Sauce Gardner, but that's the beauty of the Bengals offense. When you have Tyler Boyd in the slot, T. Higgins on the other side, taking advantage of another good cornerback and DJ Reed, like it's hard for opposing secondaries to stop all of that. And again, if you're gonna blitz Burrow, like you better be ready for this. Like this was a nice play call. This is what it should be in the opening script, right? You have a set of plays that you feel like can take advantage of the defense, and they knew that they had single high coverage, so they took advantage of the boundary. It was a good ball from Burrow. Chase just failed to locate it.
Yeah, I feel like that play to me, even though went to 3rd down, Chase didn't catch it, that play to me said, okay, we're going to see something a little different from this offense right now. I don't know. As a fan, I feel like I needed to see that play to just feel like, based on what we talked about last week, what do the Bengals actually have in their playbook to cook up when
Well,
they need to? Something about that really got me excited as a fan and led me to believe, like, what, I don't remember what minute we were in that game, but it made me feel like something was going to feel a little bit different
but
yesterday.
I'll tell you what made me feel different was seeing the Bengals actually have a running game, especially when they really needed it, John.
Yeah.
And you put together this little compilation of Samaje Perine. Now, I want to remind you guys that the Jets were trying to stop the run here. And they have a pretty athletic, young, talented defensive line. Sure, it's the end of the game. They were a little tired. But, John, he was getting positive yardage every single time. It was at least 4 yards, I think, every single time. And these are not huge holes. They're not the most incredible holes. It just seems that it's the polar opposite of Joe Mixon, where he's not even pausing to think at all. He is just attacking.
He's a bulldozer.
Yeah, he's a bulldozer, and he's going straight forward. No shiftiness, no moves, nothing. He's just ready to go, ready to hammer himself into a wall. And it worked. And John, we've seen this before. When you have a big running back who can just plod forward, get you a few yards, and he's getting more than a couple, it really helps with the vertical passing game. It really helps keep defenses honest. And that is why I think the coaches have to consider, especially with Mixon, let's say, dealing with some lingering issues from injuries, and maybe not being, let's say, in terms of his vision, not being the best. I think they have to consider.
You got it. You're almost there. You're very close, man. He can't see. He can't see. I'm convinced he's very much in his own head at this point. He has a very big problem just following his own blocks. Like, just in those plays, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not perfect blocking, but you can just, whenever a running back is making the most of his blocks, it makes the blocking look better. Like Cordell Wilson, I think, ended up on the ground a couple of times. You had La'el Collins and Alex Kappa, struggling a little bit on the front side. But even still, like, with imperfect blocking, Perine makes the most of it. And that's always been the case with him. Fans get on his case for not being the most dynamic athlete, and when he's in space, sometimes he loses his balance. He can't make guys miss on the perimeter. He's not that much of a receiving threat, and that's the situations where people find him in, because for whatever reason the Bengals like to feature him there. But when he's in that specific role, when he's just reading simple zone blocking and he has adequate enough blocking to work with, he gets the job done. And it was great that he was in there to showcase, to prove why he's still valuable in that role. And whether or not Mixon was actually dealing with injury, I guess that's the case. He was dealing with an ankle injury that was giving him some soreness. Like, they needed that. He drained, I think, 6 minutes off the clock, and despite McPherson missing that kick, they gave the Jets little to no hope. But that is Perine's strengths. And when fans clamor that the Bengals need to give Mixon the ball 20 times a game because that's a guaranteed win, the qualities that they believe that Mixon possess, those are the actual strengths that Perine possesses. Like, his ability to just cut upfield, get downhill, and read his blocks in an efficient manner so there's no wasted movement when he's working behind the line. Like, that's what you need. Those are the qualities that you need to execute the scheme that the Bengals' run game is based on. And Perine exhibits it a lot more consistently than Mixon.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, if you look at these stats here, John, he was the best runner according to PFF. I mean, he only had 9 carries, but he had the receiving touchdown, and he had some great blocks. He had the great block the previous week, right, against Micah Parsons. He flipped him into the air, right? Was that Peter? No, he blocked.
That was him.
Sorry, that was, yeah. And he's a solid all-around back. He's still 27.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Samaje Perine also the one who in the Super Bowl didn't do something that we wanted him to do?
Yeah, he ran into Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I think it was the pass at the end that was tipped. He didn't make a play for it, but I think the angles that we saw, John, showed that there was no chance that anybody could catch it, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the Super Bowl, like, simple argument is, if you're going to run the ball, why not have your best running back out there? Well, Perine just showed you why more times than not he's going to make the right decision with the ball in his hands and he's running in between the tackles. Like, it's not always great.
Actually, there was another time in the game, this past game with the Jets, where I thought everybody's getting on Zach's case, and he was right about something, which is why didn't he kick the field goal? It was toward the end of the game. They were up, I think it was like 27, and 27 to what was it, 12, something like that, or 27 to 9, and Zach doesn't kick the field goal, and I was like, why? It's like 4th and short. You're not far away. They went for it, but then if you remember, McPherson tries to kick a 40-yarder, which is not hard for him, and misses, and we realize, oh my gosh, it's a very windy place right now. And that's why they didn't go for it. Pretty smart. So you got to give your coach the benefit of the doubt sometime.
I also, when you're up like that, and this is probably why I don't coach and work in football, I liked going for it on that 4th and short. For me, it felt like it was giving the team.
It was a bad call, though. It was a bad call.
Bad play call or just bad decision?
We're talking about the chase one? Is that what we're talking about, John?
Is that what they did? They handed it off, or
Yeah, so they
did
chase
like
motion.
They tried to do a short flicker. It was a flicky. It was a flicker to the right.
They ran that play in the playoffs against the Raiders, but that was against a Raiders front that wasn't so overloaded towards that side, which is why it wasn't the right call in that situation. And per usual, Taylor's pretty honest about his own self-evaluation, and he said Monday that, I shouldn't have called that play, which is always refreshing to hear. But
he said it was the absolute worst play I could have called. He said any other play.
I think you're paraphrasing a little bit, but
I don't think he said that.
He did.
Did he really?
Yeah.
But I do.
I don't think so.
Is anyone totally against going for it on 4th and short when you're? Because I like.
I was against it at the time. I don't understand. 3 points, easy points, puts you another score away. So why not go? If you can easy kick it, why not just flip? And boom. But I don't think it was actually very easy. That's the part I'm saying. Because why did McPherson miss the next? I think it was around 40-yarder. I think really the wind was an issue that I, as a viewer behind the television screen, did not appreciate.
I want to ask Dadio something, just real quick, because I think this is just who Zach Taylor is at this point. There's no hope in thinking that he's going to be 100% every time as a play caller. There's always going to be a handful of plays where like, why the hell did he call that play? Like at this point, like, is there anything more that worth needing to discuss about it? This is just who he is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it can work if Burrow is on point, and I think if Burrow has a line that he trusts, where he knows their deficiencies and he can work. Look, John, the other day, last night, for some reason I was watching the 49ers, Seattle.
I was watching it too, Denver.
Yeah. And Trent Williams goes down, John. And you could tell that Jimmy Garoppolo was very used to playing with Trent Williams because he wasn't even paying attention to his left side. And once Trent Williams went down, it was like, oh, all the pass rush is coming from the left side now. You know? And so I think that's key, is for Burrow to know which side. I think quarterbacks have these little subtle movements. I'm going to move a little bit this way. I'm going to move a little bit this way. They favor. And once...
Even with their eyebrows.
Yeah, and I think he trusts La'el Collins, overall. I think once La'el gets back to form or something, I think he can make it work. And same with play calling. Yeah.
As the only former QB coach in the room, I'd like to make my own observation based on watching last night's game, the Monday night, the Sunday night game of Denver and the 49ers, and also watching the Bucks lose based on that strange Brady, misjudgment, which is, what do Brady, our guy Burrow, and Denver, what do they have in common? What do Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, and Tom Brady have in common? Okay, other than being great. Okay, I saw a lot of similarities. I saw Russell Wilson, holding the ball for too long, getting hit and sacked many times for holding the ball for too long. I see Brady taking too much time trying to get a play set up, and I see Burrow doing the same thing. Why? Because the greatness and the procrastination are related. They are trying to get great plays. These guys don't want to just be, game managers and passing 5 yards all the time. They're looking for those big plays, and when you do that, you're going to get sacked a lot. There's going to be delay of game, and you saw Russell Wilson. I mean, the guy was, he's dealing with a new situation there, but it's a very similar scenario between these three QBs. We in the QB biz, when a quarterback starts failing a lot, we call it projectile disorder. That's not what's going on here, with Burrow in these games.
Pills for that?
No, it's more herbs. I have it special. It's I sell it actually, but the Burrow hasn't been suffering from projectile dysfunction in any of these games. The games have been close. He's been doing well, especially in the second half, and he's getting sacked a lot. Why? Part of it's the offensive line. Part of it is him, and it's a good thing. You want a QB that gets sacked a lot. You want a QB who is trying to get the big play.
I agree, but
and that's my horoscope.
Yeah, but I think, John, they didn't face any elite pass rushers. We love Carl Lawson, but he's not back. It was Achilles tear, I think. And the other guys they have, they're more interior pass rush guys, which can be great, but they're not top tier. And but still, Joe Burrow was only sacked twice, and really.
Yeah, but there were some close calls too this game.
Well, yeah, but he was moving around a lot. He was catching fire, and
but I think what Hodgie said is right. His style of play, and I feel like I'm plagiarizing this from a tweet. His style of play is going to lead to more sacks than another type of quarterback.
I don't understand. Are you saying he'd be more popular? You're saying
Not
the way
not sex.
Oh
yeah, I definitely didn't say that.
Sorry. Okay.
The style of play
again.
definitely leads to more sex. That's indisputable.
It does.
Well, Bengals fans, the population of Bengals fans has gone up because of
Zim, our good friend Zim says Burrow babies. He says a lot.
Burrow
of
babies,
a lot of Burrow babies. A lot of people
I think I've had a few myself.
He's repairing a lot of relationships, Joe Burrow.
Dadio was on his phone DMing me, and I have the full Zach Taylor quote. He said, quote, "Any other play call would have worked other than the one I called. So thank you for proving my point that you paraphrased what he said."
Yeah. I didn't know what paraphrase meant. I thought it meant plagiarize.
Yeah.
Well, now we got both.
When you do Dadio's copyright style of passive aggressive behavior, you're gonna make some mistakes.
I do. I have a question. I've got a question. We talked a lot about Pirine, who just had himself a day yesterday.
He did.
And I know we were messaging one another, and I am convinced it's Pirine's body type and shape that enables him to be able to do that, and that's what I like about him.
Let's talk. Can you extrapolate on that,
He's got
Bridget?
a lot of reserve power, that's stored in parts of his
upper glute.
Describe.
Area?
I need you to describe, Bridget, please.
He's a thick boy, Hodgie.
Okay, got it.
He's got a booty, and he knows how
Yeah.
to use it.
Well, I can sympathize with that. Most of my powers come from, my backside. I believe that. Yes.
You do squats and
No, I don't do anything. It's just natural.
No.
Well, we've gotten a couple comments about Chris Evans and us not seeing Chris Evans.
I would say this. A lot of people are like, Chris Evans this, Chris Evans that. Why don't we see him, John?
I think a lot of people will be like, who's Chris Evans?
Right. But I think we saw it today. And I think we're seeing with the overall play of Pirine that, John, this is not the mid-90s, right?
No.
There's no reason that you need a flashy, electric running back. You want a running back who does certain things. You want a running back who can block. You want a running back who can catch the ball. You want a running back who's not going to fumble. You want a running back who's going to, set up the pass better. So,
well, not the mid-90s, but he's now a cartoon.
I will say two responses to your mid-90s comment, Dadio. The first is I beg to differ. I do think a great running back can elevate a team. I think what you've seen so far from the Browns has been because of their really great running game.
Jonathan Taylor last season.
Yeah, I think a great running back can make a huge difference. I agree that it's more quarterback driven than ever. True. But a great running back, I think it was John was saying, it changes the game, changes the thrust of the game. Number two, I think another thing I've been wanting to say is I think a lot of Bengals fans are like, look, we just beat the Jets. Is that a big deal? Yes or no? Because and I
It's
want to
the
say
way
it's
we beat the Jets.
it's the way we beat the Jets. It's not the mid 90s. Every team now is good. That's what the people are not realizing. This is a much different NFL even than it was 5 years ago. There are really no, as far as I can see it, dominant teams in that same way. There's no Patriots winning every year. It's not like the 90s when it was always the Cowboys. All the teams are doing really well against each other. We have more. I feel like we have more overtime games than ever.
I think having a franchise quarterback who can win you games, who can always keep you your head above water offensively, like a Aaron Rodgers. He's consistently in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like a Tom Brady. He's always right there in the championship games.
And these are what we would call better teams. But it's not there is no one team that you would say this is a guaranteed NFC championship team.
That's impossible. But I don't think a running back.
But you could have in the 90s. In the 90s, if the Patriots didn't make it to Super Bowl.
So free agency started in the 90s. So with the onset of free agency, there's a lot more roster turnover.
But it's more than that.
John.
Parity in the NFL, John. That's the topic.
Parity in the NFL when it comes to running backs and
Everything.
Wow, this conversation, I wasn't even paying attention.
Let me move on. Let me move on to the Dolphins, if it's okay, guys. Because
but I think the Dolphins are important.
Look, let me just explain.
They're the only undefeated team in the NFL.
Dolphins, but it's about how they did it. So they've been pulling off late, miraculous victories, and we can see that the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator.
Well, they've also been cheating, Dadio. They've been cheating the protocol for concussion.
Yeah. So they were able to escape before the Bills could get off a field goal because of their clock management, and this was the reaction we saw.
Run out of time in the end, and the offensive coordinator, Dorsey.
Why was he doing that?
Well, honestly, I can't blame him. I have the same reaction every time we lose a Patreon on patreon.com.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen your temper tantrums. Yeah.
But it's very natural when your dreams are shattered. Patreon.com/DHS. Did I say the slash? /DHS Sports.
Forward a slash.
Forward the slash. But the Bills, look, the Bills, John.
You never explained why was the man breaking his stuff. You have to explain that.
Because they couldn't get the field goal off in time. Because I feel like, John, the offensive linemen were just they were taking their time a little bit. They were the offense didn't get set. Yeah, sure, the defense would try to delay you, but the offense didn't seem to know the time was running out. It was kind of crazy.
John.
Are you insinuating that they weren't hustling as fast as they should have been?
Yeah.
After running 90 plays on offense in 90-degree weather?
I think he is.
We've done the show for 32 minutes, John. I haven't stopped talking. If it's all about it's all about practice.
And he hasn't stopped sweating.
Stamina? No, I have not.
Yeah.
But John, here's the thing. We're getting the Dolphins. And as Hodgie pointed out, Tua this is what's happened. He got hit, and then he's like, I'm fine, guys. And then he forgets if is he a two-legged animal, a four-legged animal.
That's a concussion.
How to walk.
That's a concussion.
That is what it would seem to be. But he was let back into the game. And now, John, the NFLPA, right? That is like the Bridget of the NFL. They are filing a grievance. They are making them, trying to protect Tua. And I don't think he's going to play on a Thursday, John. Because
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters if he plays.
I saw that doctor, John, the doctor on Twitter, the former NFL doctor who tweets a lot and he loves attention. And he was like, he said something. There's a rule that if you show some sort of, reaction, you can't play the next game. Did you see that, John?
I didn't see that. I don't pretend to know those rules. The optics of that looked awful. And even if it is a back injury of some sort, you can't tell me that he didn't suffer some type of a head trauma there. So if he's in the concussion protocol or not, I guess he's not. It's kind of moot at this point because it doesn't look great, and I think it's worth to investigate what happened.
Who is the Dolphins' backup quarterback?
Teddy B.
Oh.
Yeah, bridge over troubled water. That's why I was going to say it doesn't really matter if Tua is in or out. They're still going to be a great team.
I don't know. Look, here's the thing about Tua.
Bridgewater's a really solid quarterback.
He's
and
a
honestly,
solid quarterback. But
Tua is a pretty good quarterback. I have backed Tua since he was drafted.
The Dolphins and who's the coach they have, John McDaniel? They are trying to be an explosive offense. That's what they're trying to do. They are trying to save this franchise in kind of like in a Kansas City Chiefs type of way, right? They're just trying to appear as a contender. All of a sudden, they added Waddle, who's very explosive, very fast. They added Tyreek Hill, who is fast and got a lot of attitude, but he's fast, and he apparently is mad at Eli Apple for tackling him, and that is kind of a crazy. We can watch that clip here.
Oh, we play on Prime Time that week? I didn't even know that.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, we play on Amazon Prime? Thursday. Oh, that's going to be lit right there. I didn't even know that for real. But, yeah, we're looking forward to who we play?
Bengals.
We're looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be fun, you know. And I can't wait to go against Eli Apple, man. I owe you, boy. I owe you. I'm here. The cheetah is here. That's it.
In town.
All right.
So what's interesting about that clip, John, is I did not know. Is he implying that he is in a serious relationship with Eli Apple and he owes him a boy? Like they haven't. I don't understand what he means when I say I owe you a boy.
No,
he said I owe you boy.
There's a comma between you and boy, but like whenever I tell someone that I owe them, like I usually owe them money, so it sounds like he's in debt for something. I don't know what they've been doing in the off season, but I mean, credit for him for just coming out clean with it. Like he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to put out his depths for the public to know. But you know, shout out to Tyreek for being a stand-up guy.
His preparation for that Apple thing also made me not believe when he asked, "Who are we playing?" I was like, "You're full of it. You knew."
Really? I don't know. I was going to say it's very good that they had that interview, because what if he didn't even know about the game?
Yeah, he would have been playing the wrong team.
With the wrong team, and the prime time, he wouldn't know the time or the day. I would say this: Tyreek Hill is very talented, but he's a hit or miss type of receiver. You know, I mean, I love our secondary. One person pointed out, I can't remember who it was. They said, "Hey, maybe this is the game we see more Dax Hill, because he's a very explosive athlete." And let's be honest, Chidobe Awuzie is playing at an elite level, and Jesse Bates is warming up. You know, his preseason is over, basically. And Von Bell has his attitude back. I think that we can keep those guys in check. And if Tua is not playing, I really don't know how that offense is going to do what it's set out to do.
Are you kidding me? The only reason people don't think of Bridgewater even as a starting QB, in my opinion, is he had some bad luck in his career, a broken foot. He played for the 49ers at the time when things were falling apart there. But if you look at his college career and you look at moments in the NFL, this guy is more than ready to step up. And honestly, with Tua or with Bridgewater, this is not going to be an easy win for anybody, let alone the Bengals. That's why they're undefeated. I mean, even Tua is good, but how good is Tua? Is Tua that much better than Bridgewater? Really? I mean, you watched him play last year. You watched him play the year before. He's the same person.
It's not. I don't think Tua's. No, I don't think he's.
I mean, there's the switch from left-handed to right-handed. So there's that. That's going to be a big switch for the offense to deal with. They got to get used to that.
I think, John, Tua has done a good job with the timing on the deep balls. And Bridgewater, as they say, it's not in his DNA to just fling it, to throw it up there, to take some risks. And
I don't think he has to win.
John.
No, because Tua played in Alabama when they were just running verticals with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith and a bunch of other guys there that ran 4-3. So Tua has experience in a vertical offense. He just doesn't have this arm where he can just uncork it at any time in the moment. And granted, Joe Burrow doesn't necessarily have that either, but Tua's finally, I think, as healthy as he's been in the past couple of years. And, you know, this head coach that they have comes from the 49ers system. They've yet to really implement that 49ers running game, but they're just trying to do similar things to what the 49ers have done in the passing game, even without a George Kittle at tight end. So Tua's just developing into a younger Jimmy G, which is fine. Like, you can win with that quarterback, but he's not the guy that you're worried is going to beat you over the top, despite the fact that they have two receivers who run 4-2 in Waddle and Hill, and you have to account for those guys. You have to park your safeties back. You have to make sure that neither get over the top of you, because if they have separation, then Tua has enough arm to get it to them. We've seen that happen over the past 3 weeks. But, yeah, like, Tua's not necessarily the guy where it's like, oh, you're worried he's going to drop 400 on you.
But he did 2 weeks ago. But, I mean, I don't think Bridgewater is definitely not the guy. He's been in the league for a long time. I guess what I'm saying, John. Yeah, I'm not that afraid of Tua, but I just feel like I feel like it's like the Bengals offense is dependent on Joe Burrow improvising, and being a risk taker. Maybe Brandon Allen is not the terrible quarterback, but you just can't do the same offense. So I feel like it's Bridgewater.
Okay.
I don't think they have an identity. Their whole identity is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
May I, Dadio, notice a trend in the way you think about football? I think that you think of football as being way more complicated than it is. Like you're always talking about playmaking. You're always talking about, can this quarterback fit into that system and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it isn't like when you just take a football and go out behind your house with your friends, but elements of it are. And a quarterback can step in who knows the plays, who knows the team, and do a decent job. And Bridgewater only needs to do a decent job because Tua is decent.
Well, let's talk about defense real quick. Do they do the Tampa too high safety stuff, or are we going to be able to get it going against them too? Because here's the thing. I think even if a defense doesn't do Tampa 2, if they just try to throw that game plan out at us, that if the Jets had started, I think, the first half with Tampa 2, I don't think it would have been as effective as it was the previous 2 weeks. I don't think you can just...
Why not?
I just feel like defenses have identities in the way of doing things.
Well, sure, but the Jets did eventually do that, and they limited the Bengals to a terrible offensive output in the second half.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So are the Dolphins just gonna? Is everybody just gonna do that? And
they should, but like
I don't think Tampa 2 will work while Hurricane Ian is going on, which will be happening on Thursday. Tampa's going to be underwater. It's not a good situation for Tampa or
Fascinating.
Tampa 2.
There's also the case where it is a short week, and there's only so much you can do to differentiate your game plan when you have less practice time and less preparation time to do so. The Dolphins still have the personnel for a single high defense. It's mainly what they run. They're mainly cover 1, cover 3. I think cover 2 has only been 14% of their plays through 3 weeks, so it would have to be an adjustment period for them. But as we've seen, like until the Bengals can prove that they can move the ball consistently against it, it's what defenses should do.
Okay, so let us get our predictions very quick. Yeah, Bridget, please.
I am going to predict we lose every game because I predicted the first 2 that we'd win and we lost. I predicted on the show last week that we'd lose and we won. So Bengals lose by 1 million, and I hope that means that we win by 1 million.
That has to be an actual score, because if you just...
Yeah.
If you
1
just
million
predict them
to
lose-
0? That's
Okay.
a score.
You also-
No.
1 million to 0. Write it down.
No,
if it happens, you win a car.
I'm still going to go Dolphins, and I'm going to go Dolphins 34-21.
I'm not
have
saying
to-
that just
Right.
just for the sake of like the integrity of the show. I'm saying like the jinx doesn't work unless you like
Yeah.
pretend it's-
34-21
You have to make it believable.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
34
John, I am so proud of you for finally studying the jinx the way I
Yes.
have
Well,
asked
hell,
you
man, it must be real, because I predicted
Oh,
them
yeah.
to lose. Like I predicted them to win
Every
the Super
game
Bowl, they
except the
lost.
Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah, he predicted. Yeah, but Bridget, you also
I'm
have to
not-
predict which players are going to get injured. Instead of playing the player of the game, you have to predict all the Bengals players that get injured.
Oh, I
to,
didn't know.
to
I'm
reverse
not
jinx.
doing
Don't
that.
do that.
You
to
want
her.
them to
Come
get.
No,
You
I'm
want
not
them to
doing
get
that.
injured.
No, don't do that. That's
Now they're
horrible.
getting
No,
injured.
but I
That's how it
don't. That
works.
I'm not even.
May I
putting
ask
out
a,
in the
a stupid
universe.
question? Is this one in Miami?
It is not.
No, this is in.
It's in the
this is
jungle.
a-
This
yeah,
is going to be Cincinnati.
this is our
They're painting
Thursday
the
night
field
game.
white. They're painting the field
Right.
white, John. They're going to be wearing the white helmets.
The White Sox.
Right?
Not all the field. They still need to see like the yard lines and stuff.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a seawater animal in a tropical environment meant for land animals. Let's keep that in mind. Jungle.
Yeah.
The closest body water is also disgusting. So
That's true. And
Not a
most of
kind
the
habitat.
most of the
But you
fish
know
in
what's
that one have
funny?
3
You
or
know
4
what's funny?
eyes.
Bridget actually knows that even if you don't live by the sea, you can have a lot of tasty sea animals. Like the
Yes.
sushi places she goes to,
Oh my gosh.
you can.
Do not eat sea animals.
They can taste better a lot of the
be
time
good.
if you're in land. Yeah, sometimes they taste better. I don't know how they do it, Bridget, but they get the most tastiest, juiciest, smallest.
I mean,
fresh-
I think
Now you wanna talk about the
airplanes
jinx?
are
That's technology. Yeah.
Karma, Dadio, is when a whale is going to swallow you whole when you're swimming in the ocean. That's going to be karma for you eating all the animals.
Jonah McDuck.
So what's your prediction, Dadio? Are you going last or are you going second?
I will go last.
Who's going second, me or John?
So it's me.
John.
Well, I feel like if Bridget's gonna take this torch from me, then I can predict a win, right? Like, is that responsibility completely on Bridget now, or do I?
We will find out. We will find out.
I mean,
John, you had the
I'm
chance to win the
3
Super Bowl last year, John. And
I'm 3 for 3 and like being opposite. So I think I can take
I'm as
it.
well. So just for a control, I'm gonna also predict them to unfortunately fall. I think Hill and Waddle are pretty good, and I think they can just find explosive plays easier than the Bengals can right now, even despite off a short week. So I'm gonna say a 22-20 loss for the Bengals.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so I've told you about all the factors, and there are a lot. You've got two teams that are hungry for each other, and you've got a coach with a history. There's a strange, it's not a rivalry, but there's a strange relationship with us and the Dolphins. In fact, as everybody knows, if we hadn't lost to the Dolphins the year before Joe Burrow was drafted, we wouldn't have any Joe Burrow. So losing to the Dolphins ain't always a bad thing. That being said, I predict the Bengals win, squeaking it out. I think it's going to be 33 Bengals, 30 Miami. And I believe that win is going to come in the last moments of the fourth quarter when, yes, Evan McPherson kicks a 70-yard field goal for the first time in NFL history.
Speaking of John, what happened with the Evan McPherson kick here?
Wind.
Now they say maybe it wasn't the perfect snap, but no, that is a shank, as they say, complete the shank.
We've never seen McPherson shank it like that unless it was
Yeah.
a bad snap or a bad hold. And it looked
Yeah.
like the snap was a little bit to the right. Huber's hold was a little bit late. I don't know. Like all these things, we take it for granted when you have chemistry with your snapper and your holder and everything.
I mean, I don't see the laces. I don't see.
Clark Harris, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the laces on that one.
But it hasn't been a consistent issue. He's made, I think, every single one except that one with Adam Minus as his holder.
Kickers miss, especially when it's windy, but a kicker's going to do really well in their hometown, and I think you're going to see the big 70-yard.
Honestly, and also when you consume seafood, you are lighter on
Why
your feet.
do you keep doing that?
You feel more invigorated. You feel alive. I will say, you feel alive. And a lot of doctors say to eat more seafood. Eat all the seafood you can.
Eat all the food you can.
Get
see.
as much mercury as you can in your system.
Right.
It's good for you.
So I would say this: the Bengals obviously are going to win, 27-14. I don't think their offense is completely going to get going yet. I think you're going to see some Ajay Piran. If Mixon is not healthy or he's not rolling, I think we're going to see some Ajay Piran if we get a little bit of a lead again. I think that is the strategy, to have him close out games, to have him finish off teams. And I think that Burrow, it clicked. It clicked again for him. And he was in his own head. One thing we forget about Burrow is that this man is like a legend. I mean, he's like a mythical personality in Cincinnati already. He's only like 25 years old. He's a little kid. And, he basically, everybody is counting on him to save the franchise, to save the city, right? And
to save the world.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of pressure. I think that was there. And then just the
all the Burrow babies.
The Burrow babies. And then when you get out there on the football field, when you do anything physical, you get out of your own head. Well, this guy was stuck with this organ that he had stolen from him. And he was just sitting there and losing weight. And so I really do think that it was a mental thing, and he's over it now. So
I don't agree.
Bengals 27.
I don't agree, and I don't agree that we should write off Mixon just yet. I think Mixon.
No, not write off. But look, John, after this year, he has $5 million guaranteed. I mean, they can look, Mixon, by the way, guys, I looked it up. He has the third most carries since 2017, John. That's after only Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott. Both those guys are slowing down. They've had a lot of carries. This man, Joe Mixon, was behind some terrible offensive lines. Terrible. Early in his career. He was getting beat up, but he was carrying the ball a lot. And people forget, he's only, 26 years old. But, I mean, he probably, running back-wise, for today's running backs, he's like a 30-year-old, So.
You're absolutely right, but do you really think that they would cut him?
No, they won't cut him.
No.
I'm saying they will be okay. It's not that much of a hit where they have to force him on the field. I think they will split carries, and they will use him in the passing game a little bit more.
Yes.
You just brought up dead money. And I
you said what I was about to say. There's one thing that you're forgetting about Mixon. which makes him very valuable for a Joe Burrow, which is actually that he's a decent receiver.
Well, you're forgetting how good Pirine is in pass blocking. I mean, this guy is like a little tight end out there, John, right? I mean, he was very bold and courageous when he
Give
took on
me
Micah Parsons.
give me for this team a running back who can catch over a running back who can block any day of the week, because that's what's spreading out the field for Joe Burrow.
A little tight end is the perfect description of Pirine.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay.
What do you
Well,
mean?
I think that's
He's got
that's
a
about
dumpy.
it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
But have you told everyone to subscribe, to smash
Yeah.
that like button, to what comment
Yeah.
are they going to put on the comments?
Tell me all the reasons I'm wrong for predicting the losses. I hate that I'm doing this. I'm optimistic. I believe we can win every game, but I am doing this solely to keep
Stuff it,
the
you hater.
jinx.
All right. Don't forget to turn on notifications, subscribe. Go to all the places you find podcasts and do what they do there. And become a patron on patreon.com/dhsport. We'll see you next time. So long. Esfiti. Bye.
Happy new tune.